Am I the asshole for expecting my boyfriend of 3 years, Vince, to support me when his own business partner, Cash, needed help with a last-minute problem that required our presence at the same event? So I, 24F, and here's what happened. I've been working towards this moment for years, the launch of my own art studio and gallery. It was finally happening, and I had invited all my friends, family, and colleagues to attend. The event was being held at a beautiful venue downtown, and I'd spent weeks planning every detail. The guest list included some of my biggest clients, so this was supposed to be a huge opportunity for me to showcase my work and attract new business. Vince had promised to come with me all along, but things started going wrong when Cash called him last minute on the day before the event. Apparently, one of the investors in our shared project was having second thoughts, and we needed to resolve the issue ASAP. Vince told me he was sorry, but that he couldn't leave his partner in a bind like this. I get it, business can be unpredictable, but I also know how much effort Vince put into being supportive when my mom got sick or when I had to deal with a bad breakup. So I asked him if there was anything I could do to help him cover Cash's expenses, and he said no, that he'd take care of it. The thing is, the event was happening in 3 days, and Vince just called me yesterday morning to say he couldn't make it. I had already booked all the hotels for my guests, and there were going to be around 100 people attending, including some big-name clients who would be staying overnight if they could get a room at our discounted rate. I tried explaining to him that this was huge for me, but he just kept apologizing and said he'd catch up soon. Now I'm left standing alone, wondering how Vince's business partner is more important than his girlfriend of 3 years.
Am I the asshole for reporting my neighbor Wilder for excessive noise despite not having a direct conversation with him about it? So I, 24M, and here's what happened. Fallon, who lives next door to Wilder, is friends with me and we've had our share of loud gatherings. Last weekend was one such night. We had like 20 people over and some of them played music really loud. I'm talking around 10 p.m., which is usually when I start winding down for the night. But Fallon's party started at 8 p.m. and it didn't die down until around 2 a.m. Wilder lives next door to us and has a pretty young family with 2 kids. They have a separate apartment above their main living space, so they're in line with what we consider noise from our perspective. I've had issues with them before. Once, they were playing music at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I was trying to sleep. But this time, things escalated differently. As the party went on, I started warning Fallon that it was getting out of hand. I texted him around 1:30 a.m. saying, "Dude, you've got to shut it down. The neighbors are going crazy." Then, about an hour later, at 2:15 a.m., I sent a more direct message, "Seriously, Fallon, we need you to keep it down or I'm calling the cops." And finally, just before 3 a.m., I called him and explicitly said, "Listen, Wilder can hear everything from there. Can you please turn that music off?" The next morning, Fallon told me he apologized to Wilder and explained that they had no idea how loud we were being. But when I reported the incident to our landlord, "I'm in a rent-controlled apartment," Fallon shot back at me saying, "You're being super unfair, man. You know how crazy parties can get," and implying that I was being unreasonable. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for expecting my brother Omar to pay me back $2,000 he borrowed 2 years ago? So I, 28M, and here's what happened. I lent Omar $2,000 2 years ago because he was in a tight spot financially and promised to pay me back with interest. At the time, our sister Cleo was getting married and we all agreed that the money would be used for her wedding expenses. Vera, my mom, even helped out by giving Omar some of her own savings to cover part of the costs. Anyway, I never heard from Omar again after he borrowed the money. I figured it was just a minor slip-up, so I sent him a friendly reminder via text saying, "Hey bro, still waiting on that $2,000. He responded with something like, "Oh, yeah, I'll get to it eventually," and then completely dropped off the radar. Fast forward 2 years, Omar shows up at my place for dinner and is acting all cool about the whole thing. We were watching TV together when he mentioned that Cleo's wedding was actually more successful than expected, which I found pretty insensitive. Later that night, we were talking about money, and he casually threw out something like, "Yeah, I've been doing alright financially since then," without even apologizing for not paying me back. The next day, Omar sends me a message saying, "Hey bro, can you help me out with this one last favor?" And I'm like, "No, dude. You still owe me $2,000 from 2 years ago." But instead of taking responsibility and working something out, he gets all defensive and tells me that I should be more understanding since Cleo's wedding was a huge success. Am I the asshole for expecting Omar to take responsibility for his debt and apologize for being flaky?
Am I the asshole for expecting my roommate Nova to speak up about her boyfriend Bo moving in and taking over our living space without discussing it first? So I, 26F, and here's what happened. We've been roommates since college, and we've always gotten along pretty well. Recently, Nova mentioned that she wanted a new place with more space for her art studio, which is where I live literally in the same apartment as her. She seemed really excited about finding something that would work for both of us. Then, out of nowhere, Bo shows up and starts moving his stuff into our apartment without so much as a conversation with me or Nova. We were all surprised, to say the least. I asked him if he was sure this was okay, since we had discussed it in passing before. I don't think he remembered that, or maybe he just didn't care. Anyway, Bo just brushed it off and said, "Oh, we talked about it," which I knew wasn't true. I've been living here for years, and I know our conversation history pretty well. I also noticed that his stuff is taking up a lot of space in the apartment, like, he's already moved most of his furniture and boxes into our place without asking permission. It's not just a little bit of stuff either, we're talking about a full-on studio setup for him, complete with a desk, chair, and all sorts of art supplies. Nova seemed really taken aback by this development when I confronted her about it, but she didn't seem too upset. She did say that Bo had mentioned he was going to move in sometime soon, which is true, but also doesn't explain why he just went ahead and started unpacking without talking to us first. Now we're stuck with this new arrangement, and I'm feeling pretty frustrated about it. Nova just keeps saying oh well or it's not a big deal like that's all there is to it. But honestly, it feels like my space has been invaded. Am I the asshole for expecting more from Nova when it comes to communicating with me about her partner moving into our living space?